Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining our holiday Watershed Talks. This evening, we have the privilege and opportunity to have Mark Dorhout with us for our special program called Panoramic View of Nature Education, how a rural science teacher uses the outdoors as a creative classroom to educate students about nature. So I'm super excited. I've actually been out with Mark and his students at Mike Delaney's Prairie, where they had a field day collecting prairie plants 2 years ago. I think it was in October, if I'm not mistaken. So we I'll just go ahead and get and we'll let Mark get started. And I just wanted to acknowledge Chris Henning, who is a board member of the Iowa division and also board member of many other affiliations, and Dale Braun, our president, and also part of the national board. And we also have uh, our communication director, Michael. Michael, I'm going to mess up your last name if I say it, but anyway, he's our communications director for national. So super thrilled to have everybody on here. And we also have Cami Coons with us from the Iowa Capitol Dispatch. And anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for taking time out to join us on a busy Tuesday evening during the holidays. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and let Mark get started. So thanks so much again, Mark.
You are quite welcome. So again, my name is Mark Dorhout. I am in Panorama schools right now. I am 32 years in public education at this point. Most of those, oddly enough, are 21 of them as a middle school principal, and the rest of the time teaching both high school and now middle school for the last 7, 8 years. And what I have for you tonight, I'm just going to give you a brief overview of who I am and the program that I am currently developing. It's always a work in progress. There's never a dull moment when it comes to 142 middle schoolers every day in my classroom. So understand that. And I was reflecting when Christine asked me about doing this. It was like, yeah, I can do that. Yeah. And then I got to thinking that the week before Christmas break, my kids are like, woof, raring and ready to go. But we're weathering that storm. And I actually had this thing kind of mapped out a little more formally than what after thinking about it, than I liked. And so I kind of have backtracked with that. And I'm going to give you about 15 or so minutes of maybe just an introduction to my program and my science classroom, because they are one and the same. And then from there, a little show and tell with about 35 pictures that I've taken throughout the last 12 months. And then from there, I'd really like to hear from everyone about the possibilities of what you want to know, if there's anything that I can help you with, and just thinking through what makes a good outdoor ed offering for kids. So I'm going to share my screen, and we will take a look at from this perspective. So what I'm going to talk about, my background and why that's important, the fact that we are a school, the wild school, and then I have outdoor ed in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. What I teach here at the middle school, I teach both 6th, 7th, and 8th grade classes, and that is new to me as of last year. The first 2 years I just was with 7th and 8th grade, and then we had a reduction, and just like most schools, we're having some cuts here and there. And so I took on the 6th grade as well. So it gives me 142 kids to give the opportunity for science education every day. Wanted to talk briefly about why we have outdoor ed. This has been a longstanding passion of mine that has become more and more apparent as we move along in this society. And really, the main thrust of that is that kids are out less and less into this environment, and we see that there's a bunch of books out there about why playgrounds are empty, why people aren't shooting basketball anymore, and all that kind of stuff. But the reality is, the digital world has kind of taken over. And if you wonder if that's actually occurring, just take a look at the number of hours that you spend online, and then ask yourself, what did you do 15 years ago? And things are quite different for all of us, and so we're adapting to that. I know that it's actually I've noticed a reduction, and I'll provide an example of that here in a little bit. But definitely, kids don't have the experiences that I had when I was growing up, and the understanding of things as it comes to you when you're outside. You just don't have that anymore. So that's why I developed what I did, and my school has been awesome. For me, they have bent over backwards. Once we were hired, my wife is also a middle school teacher. She's an English teacher, and we both prioritized. We're probably old school teachers, so to speak. Even though I'm not a very old teacher, I'm an old guy, but I'm not an old teacher. I've only got 11 years of experience in a science classroom at this point. Um, but this school has bent over backwards with whatever I needed, whether it was materials or time. The prairie, we've got an 11-acre prairie, and I'll show you some pictures about what that is. It's a 12-minute walk from my classroom to the main start of where our prairie is. And in a 45-minute period, I can get my kids there in 12 minutes, have a 20-minute lesson, turn around, hightail it back, and we don't impact anybody else's classrooms. It happens seamlessly throughout the day so that we don't have to modify any schedules, which is a big thing when you look at a secondary school. The minute you start mucking up schedules for opportunities like this, people get a little bit upset about that. And so for me to be able to do that right inside my own class period, and the kids get a workout as well, because it's a 12-minute walk there and back. And so they get 25 minutes of active walking, and then we do the lesson, which usually means some additional walking there. So they usually come back a little flush and a little tired. And most of all of my colleagues would say those days just work better in the middle school, because the kids are kind of a little bit out of gas before they get to the other classrooms. We also have a greenhouse that I have been given a chunk of space. It's, I think, a 4-foot by 24-foot table that I have access to. The school bought me a drone. And then basically just materials and time, anything that I wanted. When I attended the outdoor or the nature summit, there was no hesitation whatsoever for me to take a couple of days and be able to go do that for my professional development. So again, they've been awesome about it. I would say that they they get it. They understand the value of a program like this, and they market it as well. I would say that probably their big summer newsletter, the main thing was outdoor education, and so they preach it as well, which is good, because the kids, to a kid, they love it. And if I say outdoor ed day on next week Tuesday, I say it always with caution about the weather, but the minute I say something like that, okay, it's going to happen. And Jax is going to come. I've got a 7-year-old Labrador Retriever that doesn't miss an outdoor ed day, and kids always look forward to him being either in my classroom or in outdoor ed. So school has been awesome for me. We have the big ticket items in my outdoor ed program, and that would be the prairie, birdhouses for my 7th graders, and the greenhouse specifically for 8th graders. And that's new. I started that last year. Been working with Teresa from Allendan Seeds, and she's been helping me with some knowledge, and then also she's backed it up with giving us some stuff as well. So I'm going to go through and do a little show and tell with a bunch of pictures of kids and what they're doing and show some examples of kid work as well. And then I really want to answer any questions or really want to get to a conversation about what we're about as far as moving forward with outdoor ed. I have Mike Delaney and I have been going round and round a little bit. He's always talking to me about growing this program and how can we get more teachers involved doing what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. And I said, to be quite honest, I have my hands full with 142 middle schoolers every day, and my priority is them right now. And I don't feel like I can just make things happen in a classroom. I'm still a young teacher in my mind, and I'm not an expert, and so I'm still working on that. But a little bit about my background then. Let me see here. My background, and this plays a big role in this. I've got a degree in biology and wildlife and fisheries sciences, certification in chemistry, physics, and math. So I've always kind of planned on being a small town science guy. That was kind of what I had planned on doing, but the wildlife and fisheries offering it just fit so seamlessly into the biology department that I got that double major. And man, that was huge because I really feel like probably most of the experiences that I have that I use on a regular basis in my classroom come from the summers that I spent in the working for the Co-op Fish and Wildlife Research Unit, the for the um, through South Dakota State, and they were huge for me. I got hired on as a freshman doing work study, and it was a very unglamorous job. I'll admit, I was counting lungworm and sheep poop, and uh, but I kind of got my name in with a bunch of good professors, and they knew that I would show up and do my 10 hours or 12 hours of microscope work a week. And next thing you know, I had pretty much the pick of the litter for different summer jobs, and then throughout the school year doing some extra things too. So I did a big game looking at the bighorn sheep in the Black Hills. We would gather sheep dung, we would collect, we would dry samples, and then again, most of it was microscope work. But you know, the kids here, my middle schoolers, when they understand that I was able to tranquilize a bighorn sheep and go through collaring them and then following them with radio telemetry, and we talk about what that is, old school, and what it is now. They think that's pretty sweet. I spent a summer doing duck nesting and habitat research on waterfowl production areas, looking at scarifying, haying, and fertilizing those areas to see if it optimized nest success. And did a bunch of robel pole transects, a lot of vegetation work there. So a lot of these things I just come back to as far as my research center about how do you know what you know. And I did a summer doing a biomass estimate where I gill netted, and so I was in a boat. I think in my undergrad years, I was in a boat 1/5 of my life. So that was a pretty neat opportunity as well. I banded ducks for 2 summers up in the Northwest Territories of Canada, living in a log cabin and 30 miles from the nearest town by boat on the Mackenzie River, one of the wildest rivers known. And then I did a summer on the Missouri River doing endangered species work. But I can't tell you how much I use that research experience in my classroom on a regular basis. Every one of my kids, well, my eighth graders, I would say maybe I'm not haven't shared everything with all of my sixth graders yet, but I know all of my eighth graders would know that I've done all of those different things and that I rely heavily on those to kind of center myself in science research. So I've taught high school physics. My very first teaching job, oddly enough, even though I was a bio major in wildlife and fisheries, my first teaching job was teaching physics, only physics, to just seniors in the biggest high school in the state of South Dakota. And I loved it. We moved back to Brookings because my wife got a teaching job there, but mainly physics. Then I got a job for the wildlife department for a year doing geographical information systems work just for a year while I was looking for another teaching job. And then I taught for 3 more years in a small district, then moved to the middle school, and I've been a middle school guy ever since. I've taught middle school earth and space science for 7 years. Then I was a middle school principal for 21 years in both big schools and smaller schools. I found that I'm a small school guy. Although I can handle the job and I'm good at it with a big school, I'm really about preventing fires rather than just putting them out. And in a big school, it felt like at least at that time we were staffed in such a way that I was barely putting out fires, and it just wasn't me. So um, after 5 years ago, after those 27, 28 years, being a middle school principal and a high school and middle school teacher, we kind of went through a change, and it kind of was me and my priorities. We had a grandson that was going to be born in Polk City, and I wanted to be pops. And I make no bones about that. There is no way that you can really do that, be a good grandpa and be a middle school principal 4 hours away. Because I was putting in 55, 60 hours a week. That's the job when you're in a small school. And I didn't want to waver on being a grandpa. And so we moved down here, got these two jobs. We wanted to be close enough so that we could access the grandkids, but also far enough away that they get to live their life and we get to live ours. So that's worked out great. So I've been at Panorama. This is my 4th year now. And my big things, I teach 6th grade, and in 6th grade, we have a life science unit, a chemistry unit, natural disasters, cycling of Earth's materials, water, and water quality. So that's kind of the thrust of 6th grade. 7th grade, we do a bunch of motion physics stuff. Ecology is the big thrust in 7th grade, and then looking at rocks, and then I wrap up with about 2 months of soils. So I'm creating a bunch of little soil scientists over here. So I love that part of it. And they totally understand that soils make it or break it. And so that's been really interesting to have conversations with kids about that. And then in my 8th grade, we focus on genetics, physics at a next level. We talk about climate change for about 2.5 months. Waves is a relatively short unit, and biological evolution, um, and we kind of get into it there. But I have not. This will only be the 2nd year that I have taught that. So that's a little bit about my background. What I do. Um, this is Jax, my dog, and that's my grandson Cameron. And I always kind of picture when I've got my classes in here, what would a grandpa want to teach these kids? In fact, I start my day at a coffee shop at 6 o'clock. I call it the Brain Trust. And um, almost every day I ask them, so what do you think I should teach the kids today? And we talk about the really big things that all the old crusties where they think that they're not teaching this. Well, no, hang on a minute. I get access to every middle schooler every day. And so the things that like the golden rule, somebody said that here just a couple of days ago. And so I weave that stuff into my classroom, and it comes from the Brain Trust, and we have a good laugh about it. And it's a good continuity maker back and forth with my coffee group. But it's really why I do what I do. I'm trying to pass on what I know, how I know it, what we can do about things to the next generations. And you bet, I'm spending quite a little time. That guy, that little 3-year-old, has spent more time in the prairie than you would believe. He both does long walks with grandma, and then we do intense lessons, and he knows quite a bit about a prairie already. So, um, in addition to my prairie, and we have an 11-acre prairie that the school owns. In addition, there's about a little over 120 acres that is owned by the Lake Panorama Association, and they have these multicolored little walking paths that are now a public access space that we can access when we want to. I always call ahead if I'm ever taking my kids out, but my kids will do like a half a day walk, and we'll do a 3 or 4 mile walk, and then have some conversations about some specific things. And we do that on special days where there's kind of a cluster of a schedule anyway, and it's just a way to kind of manage the kids. And they love those long days when we can get out for a couple of hours. And there's about 4.5 miles of walking trails that we have access to. And this is adjacent, like directly adjacent to like uh, lower center of this is where our prairie is. You can see the elementary school right at the very bottom of that picture. And so I'll get into that a little bit more. This is our prairie area. This is the elementary school. And if you see, there is kind of a goofy area like right in here. This is the geothermal location of how this building gets its heat. So these are all geothermal wells that go down. They're piling wells. And this outline, so this is where we start our prairie. Our prairie comes around and basically it goes all the way back, all the way over to here. And then there is a temporary wetland right here that used to hold more water. It has kind of filled in over the last 20 years. Um, I'm uh, I'm twisting some arms trying to get, there's a $7,000 bid I've got from somebody that we're going to try to dig this out and make it more of a semi-permanent wetland. We also want to do something with this little land bridge right here. But this is the baseball field, softball field right here. And this also is all prairie right in here. And it's on a fairly steep slope. There's some with that elevation change, there's some erosion issues with this, and we talk about and use those erosion issues in the education as well. So there is this one building. This was created about 25 years ago. Mike Klein, who is a DNR guy from way back when, Bays Branch, he was the impetus for starting this as a prairie. And he and along with a couple of other teachers, but the teachers somehow one of the mainstays left and the other one retired, and the next thing you know, it kind of fell out of use. And a majority of this thing became scrub junipers and cedars. And so it was about 6, 7 years ago when the Panora Ikes, Mike and Steve Rowe, kind of took it to heart, and they got the school to commit to grubbing out, I think it was like 2,000 trees or something like that out of this area. And then they planted it to prairie. So that was even before my time here. But this is, we call it the outpost. This is just an open building that just has four 4x4s on the outside. It's got a picnic table and about 15 chairs in it. And I use that as kind of the hub, but it's more just a location because honestly, wherever we're having the lesson is where the hub is. So we don't necessarily just always go out. Well, we rarely just go out here. We will do that if we're just taking a break, doing something a little bit different in class. So, um, I orient my class in this way. It just so happens that the way my building is, the building is set up to the north of us is the prairie, and we talk about the environment and the environmental issues. And I've got some posters that I'm going to show you here in a second. To the east is the community, and we talk about creating a community and why that's important. To the south is the Middle Raccoon, and I always kind of think of it as a recreation area. So we kind of use that as a way to kind of get excited about our life. What are the things that make us tick? What floats our boat? And then right behind us, right behind my back to the west is a cemetery, and it's not far from school, and we don't enter it, but we use it as our legacy concept. So we are always thinking about, okay, what is this going to, what does it matter that we're learning about what we're learning about? What kind of people are we going to end up being? How are we going to make those things happen? And so that's how a lot of my lessons, I kind of keep these four things as the focus. So I'm going to just show you some pictures. I've got some of them embedded, like I said, um, in this talk, and then I'm going to just go out and actually just whip through some pictures and just show you some things. And at which point, then we can just start a conversation about where we're going. We've been, like I said, we've had awesome support. Our firemen here have done a prescribed burn. This was the second one. This was not last year, it was the year before. They let me know about it. I was able to get a drone up in the air, and I've got about 10 or 15 minutes of video of different things burning. We had an awesome wind, and it was as good a prescribed burn as you could have. It was a backfire in most cases, and it went great. I also have a YouTube channel that is just for my students. It's where I screw around on YouTube and make goofy, dumb middle school videos that kids think are the coolest thing ever. Lame, I think, but to each his own. I try to never edit them. I don't want to get into that being my life. It's more, hey, we have this going on. I just wanted you to show it. I upload it and I don't look back. And if there's a goofy thing that happened or anything, it becomes a meme moment for the kids and we move on. But it's just one of those things that I find that it works really well with kids. Um, there's a group of these are now eighth graders. They were seventh graders that this was their seventh grade birdhouses. And we had, I think, 53 of them that were put out that spring. Just another view from above the baseball field of the Prairie and its proximity to school. So it is right there, and it is public as you can get. Whenever anything is going on, there's always parking going on where these cars are, and so it's very visible. And I love that part of it because with us making this Legacy Prairie, the kids, they see it all the time. When they go to a baseball game, when they go to a football game, they see the prairie. They physically see it. And so we can talk all day long about it. If you notice, kind of right in here, I mentioned that there's some erosion issues. There's a few things going on here. And again, we use that as a way to talk about the different types of erosion with kids. So, and I will mention too, I have of this 11 acres, I would say probably 7 acres of it is starting to be a quality reconstructed prairie and about 3 acres of crap. And we get to talk about with the bad part of the prairie. That is where we focus our energies about, okay, why is this a bad part of the prairie? What makes it that way? The diversity is down. The different plants that are there are not beneficial long term for soils. And then we talk about grazing and what that means as far as quality grass goes and that kind of thing. So you think about sixth, seventh, and eighth graders, these are kind of rich conversations. I remember having many of these conversations back in college during my classes in college. And here I've got middle schoolers talking about that. Let's see. That's another picture. We'll just dispense with that. This is going west, and if you see right in here, that is the temporary wetland that I'm still trying to figure out a way to make that happen. And we'll see once if I can get that money covered for that because it really is a school issue more than it is me. I live a block from school, and I have two pocket prairies on uh, uh, my own house. This is one of them. So on the Friday of the first week of school, I had 145 kids at this pocket prairie that was started last spring. And we're talking about different plants and what we can do following, some of the ideas about just making these small pockets of prairie. These were plugs that were put in. These were grown in our greenhouse. We just did a little kind of it wasn't an afterthought. I was intentional about doing this, but a pretty powerful little teaching tool. And this thing is now 3 times the size. So it's going to be way bigger. Thankfully, I've got neighbors that I make no bones about the fact that I hate Kentucky bluegrass, and my neighbors, they're advocates of that. They're good. They're good with it. My next door neighbor is an organic farmer, so he's pumped about what I'm doing there. Um, I do try to fly the drone once every 2 months or so to get an aerial view of what I'm seeing, and then we kind of ground truth it, like this color here. This is really heavy on Indian grass right in here, and we talk about the foxtail that's definitely in this area, and so we'll fly that. Every one of my kids has to fly the drone by the time they get through 8th grade. We've got a checklist of they've got to do elevation changes, make a video. They have to land it. They have to take off, that kind of thing. So everybody gets experience. It's just a little drone. It's a $400 DJI drone. Can't tell you enough how beneficial that thing is. The kids think it's cool, but they've had the cheapo drones, and then when they see the quality of pictures that you can get from this little drone, I try to keep preaching that because I stink at driving it. They're awesome at it. Just with the video gaming world, they have that kind of figured out, that spatial understanding. Let's see. This is the East Prairie, and so there is the wetland that I had mentioned is right here. This is the school that we were looking at before, and then we have a chunk of this over here that it's actually a pretty good piece of grass. Our FFA has done some things over here where they have put plants in here. They tried to grow pumpkins and that kind of stuff. And we talk about ag and its influence in prairies and how we can work together, kind of thing. And so we've used that before. And then this whole thing is cross country. This gets 1 or 2 meets a year, and it really shows off. And I've flown my drone for every one of the cross country meets, and it shows off our prairie in a big way to our community. So, and then on to some pictures. Mike, I see you there. This is something that you're probably familiar with. I sent you a couple of these pictures. These were some of the clams that you sent me. I hate to tell you though, I look back on them today and they are no more. They did not make it. I tried continuing, and I've got the algae continuing to grow, and I've kept the waters at a reasonable level, but the clams did not make it. So, white wild indigo. This happens to be the weevil that is on those seeds, that sits in those seed pods. Kind of interesting. Every one of my kids knows about that. This is green gentian. Looks like a fried egg. I'm going to show you in a second when I get back on camera the $25 that I spent with this little micro camera, and it's pretty awesome, honestly. And so let me backtrack here, and I'm going to stop that. I got to go back just 1 second here. I've got one more thing that I'm going to just show you some other pictures here. So hang with me a minute. I'm sorry about this.
Bob Rye was doing some water quality testing along with Zach Moss at the dam there at Redfield. He came up with these tiny little clams, and I wondered what kind they were, whether they were thumbnails or just maybe something else's. So I took 5 of them over to Mark, and he was able to do some research on them. How long did it take them to bury and stuff like that? It was great.
Yeah, we played with them quite a bit. And let me go back to, oops. Let me go back to my pictures here. So are you guys able to see what I'm seeing with just a picture of the prairie?
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. And I'm going to slide this off to the side here a minute so I can see. I apologize. I am not well versed with this, with the Zoom. I'm a face-to-face guy, so I got to get behind this window a little bit. All right. So you're seeing a picture. Is that correct? Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things that I incorporate in every one of our outdoor ed things is just enough organization so that we can have a meaningful lesson, and just enough goof around time that the kids think that it's awesome. This may or may not have been a time where the snow happened to be perfectly able to be packed, and me and one other person had to do some looking and investigating at trees and turn our back to the kids so that they had 5 or 10 minutes of a snowball fight if they wanted to. And they've already talked to me about, are we going to do that again? And yes, we are. things that come up. I have an awesome situation. Mrs. Dorhout, my wife, is an avid walker, and every day she walks 2.5 miles out in our prairie in the Lake Association, and she will tell me, "Hey, you should check this out. I don't know what this is." And these were a bunch of meadow voles, and I took the next day when she mentioned it that it was there. I took the kids out. We had just had a melt, and there was 3 or 4 big areas, maybe 20 30 feet, where all these trails were going on. We could see what was happening with the what I think are meadow voles. I had mentioned to you how I orient my class. This is with the poster that's on my north wall. It's our environment. How are you taking care of our environment? How are you making this earth a healthier place? And then all the kids have to come up with, and they make a card. So I have 142. I just choose them at random, and I just put a dozen of them up on the wall every year. And so I've got these posters going. I've got north, I've got east. It's our community, and they talk about what their community means to them. How do you help others? How do you build relationships? How do you make their life better? To the south, our recreation. So we talk about recreation and what that means to them. And then to the west, your legacy. And we talk about the cemetery and what's going on there. So the cardinal directions, we try to keep up with that. I always try to get them to understand where we're at in this world. We have been collecting seed. Mike knows full well that we've been doing that. I think this is a collection picture. This is organizing. We had 116 bags with about 400 grams of various types of seed going on. Everybody had one big bag that we wanted to backfill that area that had the foxtail barley and crown vetch in it. And so we got a bunch of kids involved in that, 116 of them actually. And then we did some micro seeding as well with some smaller areas that we wanted to get some specialty species in. You saw that picture. Here's just some picture of cream gentian. All the kids took the flowers apart and we looked at these. Everybody knows how to use a hand lens, and we actively will take those out when we go on lessons so that we can see the world that's right in front of our nose. You saw that. We worked with the greenhouse. They gave me a bunch of flowers, and we were able to take them apart and take a look at the constituent parts of a bunch of different types of flowers with my 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And we were able to organize them and figure out what was going on there. And kids thought that was pretty cool. And unless you're intentional about doing that, you kind of miss the boat. So we took apart all those. We did comparative analysis of flower to flower, what things are similar, what things are different. We'll talk about their work here in a little bit. They're always having to work inside their nature journals. And these are a couple of pictures of what they did there. This is kind of our one of our 3 marquee species for this upcoming year. This is butterfly weed seed that I collected from that pocket prairie, and we watched these pop. I collected them, and then over the course of 2 weeks, I took a bunch of pictures, and we did like every other day, I just showed them how these things opened up, and then we counted seeds in different seed pods, and just got hands-on. And my custodians have been really nice about the fact that I don't mess up my classroom too bad. I know the value of a good custodian. We have an awesome one, so I'm very careful about making sure that my classroom stays clean. Here's kids. Yeah, this is a collection that we were doing. Another picture of that. Kids that you wouldn't think would like doing prairie work just totally get into it. And when they can zip Indian grass and big blue stem, they love it. They get in the zone. And I had some 7th graders. These are 7th graders that worked for about an hour and a half straight. I said, I don't want you to talk. I want you to just go out and just kind of get in your zone. And man, they worked like troopers, and we gathered a bunch of seed like that. Teresa Frome from Allendale Seeds has been willing to give me plants. We I think got 6 flats this fall. Had mixed results. The ground was so hard before the rains came in that it was tough to get anything in of quality, but that's a work in progress as well. Another picture of the prairie. And And then journaling. I want to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to just go through this. We looked at different plants. I think, Delaney, this is at your prairie, if I remember correctly.
Looks like it.
And this is by Birdhouse #1. I try to take group pictures like this just as a memory for the kids, and then we'll make a long slideshow for them. So these are just different classes that I'll take. So I have somewhere between 20 and 28 kids in every class period. So it's no small potatoes when we're out. It's management of a bunch of middle schoolers, and for the most part, they step up to the task. I always have to deal with the occasional issue, but that's the way life is in a middle school. Just some prairie plants. This is in the backyard. You guys saw that Maximus sunflower took off this year. At least it did in our 2 prairies, and this is actually my back pocket prairie. And I've been accentuating art this year in the outdoor ed nature journal. And this is a picture from not an artist. This happens to be something that I drew, and it's a work in progress. I try to make sure that they see me as a non-artist trying to do artsy kind of things, and I'll show you some of the work that they have done as well. So, and I think we're back to kind of where I wanted to be here. So, with that, I'm going to take a look at, let's see, how do I do this? I'm going to stop sharing, and then I think what I need to do, oh, I do need to reshare again. So, how do I do that?
Middle of your screen.
Yeah, it was there. It's kind of disappeared now. I'm not seeing it.
Um,
Is there a way you can open up? Okay, oh, I'm sorry. Here we go. So I'm going to share one other thing here. Can you see a document camera?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to just show you some of the things that my kids are documenting. This is their nature journal, and it's a 80-cent little thing that I bought for them at the beginning of the school year. And I'm going to just page through this. I just want you to just experience. This is a 6th grader, a typical 6th grader. I didn't choose the best, didn't choose the worst. This is the life. And we practice drawing. We talk about a nature journal. This is some science drawings that we have, microscope work, Indian grass, field notes that we do. We've got a couple of partners in the back of our room, a gecko and some turtles, and we draw those occasionally. But we document different plugs that were collected and different drawings. So this is what a 6th grader does.
Wow.
Compass plant. And this was the last one where we put in those seeds and when we did it and how much we did. So that's a 6th grader. And I'm going to flip to, I'm just going to grab an 8th grader, and I'm going to grab an 8th grader. Liv is an interesting student. We'll put it that way. And so I'm going to show you 2 things from Liv. So this is her science notebook. So we have a science notebook that is mainly just sciencey stuff and not nature stuff. But I want you to just experience, this is the brain of this 8th grade girl and how she kind of makes sense of things. I figured this would be a blast of the past for you guys. And I bring this up just because our life is not just outdoor ed, although there's a lot of time committed to it. And you can see by the notes that we are taking that there's a lot of stuff that I kind of weave back into outdoor ed in our classroom. And we'll dispense with a couple of the pages here. I just wrapped up a long unit in unit conversions with the kids. As a scientist, we use this all the time, trying to convert metric to standard and figuring out big numbers and that kind of thing. And I use examples of ground and rates and all that kind of stuff in that process. But more importantly, so here is that same kid's nature journal. So again, an 8th grader, and she's random. She's about as random as you can get, as far as I'm concerned. A beautiful child. She's a wonderful kid. So I mean, but she's an odd duck. She's a unique individual, and she's got an artistic flair. She likes that part of who she is. And there is one picture that I just want to show you that, and she's not even the best artist that we have. So that's the kind of stuff that I live with my kids. And so I do have some other things that I want to share with you at some point if you are willing to hear. The bird houses that we make, this is what they look like. I use a Cornell plan with the elongated hole. So this is a typical bluebird house. Every 7th grader gets one of these. They build them. They don't build a specific one. We mass produce them because I think that is an important way for them to understand kind of how things tick. But then these get sent home, and they get sent home with not just the birdhouse, but the nails to put it up on a tree. And also, let me do this. We talk about what are the priorities for bluebirds. So they either choose a bluebird house or a wren house. I can't quite get everything in here, but these are like what you need to do, when you need to do it, how often you need to do it, kind of things. And then they also go back, and for 2 years, they collect data on that bluebird house or wren house. And this follows, it's mainly Cornell, but there's some similarity to White Rock, the citizen science piece that they did. And we go through all the explanations about what to do, when to do it, talking about coding it correctly. So every kid has an access to all of a sudden kind of that physical, that switch to the outdoor world. But as a science person, but also that appreciation. Every one of my kids has also the Merlin app downloaded. And so that's kind of an interesting thing as well. But I think everything else that I've got, you can ask questions and follow up, but I just wanted to show you kind of that's my life. And my kids get a ton of outdoor thinking. It's the passion that I have, and my district encourages it. So there's no way I'm going to just stop doing it because I have fun doing it. I mean, that's the reality of it. And, to be a 56-year-old guy that's been through 32 years of public education, and I look forward every morning to getting together with my kids and talking about the next thing that we need to discuss. And so it's kind of fun to have that energy, and you can tell I get excited about it. So that was really what I wanted to share with you, but I just wanted to talk to you now about anything that you have going on.
Say,
Well,
Mark, can we share your video with other teachers and other people that are interested in this? I think that Christina's got this recorded.
Sure.
yeah, we do record our Watershed Talks, and they will be posted on our website, and we share them out with through Facebook and so forth. But you can always go to our website and grab them. So, Mark, I think everybody's pretty impressed with what you've been doing. It's like, can we clone you and have you in every part of our state? Can you imagine what an impact you're making? I think everybody here has to resonate with what you've done.
Well, I appreciate that. And I'm just trying to teach some rigorous science. And what ends up happening. The thing is, I've got some experience in the field, and I would go back to the power that I have is those 5 summers of doing that tech work, and that would be maybe something that for any science teacher, upcoming science teacher, if you could encourage them to get into the field and do some field work, all of a sudden you just start talking about things with biologists and any scientist. It's science. That's what you do. You gather data, you look at it, you figure out what it actually means, and you move on and you make decisions based on it. So that would be one thing that I think would probably be beneficial to undergrads as they consider this path in their world.
Say, Christine, can I share my experience with Senator Tron Garriott and the kids here in Des Moines?
Oh, sure. Absolutely, Mike.
I'll try to make it brief. My daughter is teaching 6th grade over at Clive Elementary, and she asked for some help with a unit about land formation. So I looked at what they were teaching and decided to talk about kind of the big picture and then bring it down to prairie and soil health. So that went well. The kids were well behaved. They're paying attention. It was something real for them. And in the midst of it, I thought, well, this would be fun to have them write what they learned about the importance of soil health to help the Izaak, Walton League others with a campaign to get our legislature to include soil health in some legislation. So I asked them if they would write letters to a legislator. They did that. And then I decided, well, why don't we contact a person who was going to respond to that real well? And that was Senator Sarah Tron Garriott from out this way. Her kids had gone to Clive Elementary. So I invited her to come and to take I invited her to take a look at these letters and then to come to the school. She came today at 3:00. They had about 100 kids in the library. They were very well behaved. She went through questions that they had from their work on soil health, but also talked about the importance of contacting your legislators, and this is how you do it, and I'm welcoming your contacts, and on and on and on. She did about, I'd say, a half hour in the library, and it was, I'm very proud about how that all came together. I'm very proud of her for taking the time to do that. And if we could reproduce that kind of thing in some of our schools, connecting the kids with the legislators over such important issues as the future of Iowa's productivity, economic and social health, I think it'd be good work. So I'm pleased with that. And my God, what you're doing, Mark, is from our perspective, I think all of us agree, phenomenal. One more thing I want to say is this. I've been thinking about prairie as a teaching tool, and I'm not sure there's any limits to what you can get into if you talk about prairie in the state of Iowa. From the geological history, soil formation, soil health, soil retention, wildlife, and then any kind of biology, chemistry, physics, mathematics, anything you want to do, you could use prairie as an example. And that's what you're doing. The social aspect, of course, you can get into the economy of our soil and our productivity and on and on and on. I just think it is a real tool. And I want to say this too, this may be critical for some. To try to do school gardens to me is problematic because the kids are gone when the plants are growing and needing attention and needing care and harvesting. Whereas prairie, it's just there. You don't have to worry about that. And if you get a prairie going like your kids are doing, there's no limit to how long that prairie can be there for their kids and their grandkids and so on. Those plants they're starting are going to reproduce. And if they're not messed with, they'll be there for, as long as they're not messed up. So what a legacy. And I think you're getting that across to your kids too. I know why you're so excited. I am too. Thanks, Mark.
Hey, so Mike, I just wanted to point out, I showed Mark and Chris this. This is Mike's honey from his prairie. It is absolutely one of the best. I collect different honeys from throughout Iowa, and I have my good friend in town who knows a lot about honey because she does honey too. But she rated Mike's as one. So I told her, I said, "It's all Iowa Prairie." So I'm going to suggest that Mike takes some honey to your class, and you can get some crackers and let everybody take a taste.
I'll do
Sounds
that.
good. In addition to those big plantings that we do and try to get that prairie diversified, we also do these micro grows. And so this is specialty seed. So Mike, you may not recognize that one seed in there, but that the white prairie clover that you guys collected. Um,
Yeah,
so that along with cream gentian, white wild indigo, and there's one other blue lobelia is in here. And we
okay.
put this, I had one grade level put this in a specific spot. And then we document that. And then we watch because I want them to develop that idea of legacy.
Yeah,
So that if we end up with some white prairie clover, guess what? That's where
yeah,
it came from. That's when it was, and that's how it got there. That was you
yeah,
guys.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
and so then all of a sudden they can invest that way. And
yeah,
definitely
yeah.
that legacy prairie, that's all the time. That's how we
Yeah,
talk about it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. To clarify for some, there's a purple prairie clover that's pretty common. The white prairie clover is not very common around here, at least I don't think so. So I got some started in my prairie, and I was telling the kids about it, like, get some of this because this is unique.
Yep. And those
You,
ninth graders that collected that with you, they know about it. My sixth graders were the ones that were specific at putting it in a specific spot and they have it documented. So we'll just see once how it goes. So that's I just see that as a really powerful thing when you look at the life of a prairie and what it looks like now compared to what it did 6 years ago when you guys first started this reconstruction. You know, it's just unbelievable. And the staff around here, they are amazed how good it looks. And yeah, we had an ideal prairie growing season this year as well. But I mean, things have gone super well. But I like that legacy concept. I think it's important. And as we age, and and I'm not long for this world. I've got, I think, 4 or 5 more years that I'm going to be teaching, and then we'll see once. But um, unless things change, my backyard is this prairie. I mean, literally, it's about 120 steps, and I can be in that tall grass prairie from my house. And so it's my play area as well. So I'm going to continue on with that path.
that's fantastic. Does so we're right at 8 o'clock, and we want to be kind to Mark because he gets up and he has to go meet his peeps in the morning for coffee and share with them what he did last night, which hopefully you'll share this with your coffee peeps in the morning. But does anybody have any questions or any comments? Dale's on, and we have a few other people in. Cami or whoever else has any questions, we can take a few more minutes to do that, or else you can talk contact Mark later as well.
Well, Mark, I just want to thank you for this. You make me want to go back to sixth grade again and start all over.
That's what I like to hear.
But at 74, I'm a little old for that. So, but I do appreciate, I mean, your enthusiasm is contagious. I've already taken notes and started my own little journal here while you were talking. So,
All
I want
right.
to congratulate you on what you do. It's pretty awesome.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
We're absolutely thrilled to have you on the board of the Panora Conservation Chapter of the Izaak Walton League as well, Mark. It means a lot to us, and to have your presence at the Iowa Nature Summit as well. And I think you're going to get a lot of attention because this is something that's really unique and special.
And Christine, you may want to put his email address in the chat for anybody who might want to be in touch with him as well.
Sure. Oh, Mark, what email would you like people to get in touch with you?
My school one, the one that I signed up on.
Okay, I'll go ahead and get that real quick.
Yep. If one last thing that I'm going to ask you, if you are a grandparent type individual or you have a nieces or nephews that you are interested in, if you if they don't have something like this is a $25 little electronic microscope. You should get one for them because this thing, it's amazing how often I reach every day for sure when we're talking about something in one of my 3 classes. Every day I get this thing out and it takes no time. It sits out on my desk all the time. It takes me 10 seconds to just try to get, well, here, watch this fast. I can share, I can go to my photo booth, and this fast, I can be looking at a clam close up.
That's so cool.
And you can get really, 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 really close up with this thing. It's and $25. And I told the kids, you would be crazy to not have one at your fingertips because your world just opens up with it. It's just unbelievable. So
And it's
Good.
connected to your phone as well, right?
you can connect it to your phone. I have it connected to my computer, but yeah, you absolutely can connect it to your phone as well.
What's the brand name of that?
Um, some Chinese brand that shall remain nameless. I don't know. If you just do any search for uh,
Fair enough.
a camera like that, you'll find a bunch of them. And I just picked one at random. That at least the reports that I saw, pretty much anything that works, about $25, and you'll get all the adapters and everything that you need to connect it to your either phone or to a computer. And uh, we've got $25 to make that happen for a kid. And wow, it's impressive what they can see. Because some of the seeds that we saw, I never knew that they had a seed coat like that. And why do they have a seed coat that's as bumpy as that is? Never saw the bumps before. All of a sudden, whoop, you see a whole different world. So it's
Oh,
awesome.
that is just fantastic. And thank you so much again. And thank you, everybody, for taking out time on your Tuesday evening to spend with us on our holiday program. Next month, on January 21st, we have Dr. Michael McNeil. And he's a scientist who's been doing a lot of work on the ground with organic conversions of Iowa farmland. And he's going to be sharing some examples of how productive they've been. And we'll get that information out to you in the next week or so. But in this session has been recorded and it will be available with a link. And I will send that out to all the people who registered as well once, and I should have it uploaded hopefully tomorrow if all goes as planned.
And as far as I'm concerned, I don't know if you share cell phones with that stuff on occasion. I have no problem with you sharing my cell phone as well. I would just assume, I mean, I have easy access makes communication better. So
You just type it in the chat box, Mark, or
I will. Yep.
okay. And that way, if anybody wants it.
So there it is.
Okay, that's great. All right, thank you again, and have a beautiful evening, everybody. And Cami, thanks for joining us. And Michael, thank you for taking time out too on your schedule to be with us, and everybody else. It's with a lot of gratitude and safe and have a beautiful holidays as well.
And thank you.
Thanks, Christine.
Yeah, thank you, Chris and Dale and Mike and everybody else. Thank you.